All right. I'd like to call to order the regular school committee meeting for the West Bridgewater School Committee. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A moment of silence. Please be seated. The listing of matters on the agenda are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. This meeting will be live streamed for cable. A recording of this meeting will also be posted on the West Bridgewater Community Access Media website, wb-cam.org. First up, we have the approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the December 8th, 2025 school committee meeting?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Next, we have the warrants report. Mrs. Lazardi.
Okay. The following warrants were issued and paid for the fiscal year 2026. For bill warrants on December 11th, 2025, warrant number 20 for $611,552.82. On December 18th, warrant number 21 for $120,477 even. On December 25th, warrant number 22 for $93,713.39. For payroll warrants in fiscal year 26, on December 5th, 2025, $728,556.77, and on December 19th, $635,154.57. As always, all warrants are public record and once signed are available in the Selectman's office for review.
Thank you, Kara. Okay, next we have the introduction of the Student Advisory Committee representative. Mr. George Baroud cannot be with us tonight, so I understand we don't have an update.
No.
But that's okay. We'll see him next time. Next, we have public comment. Members of the audience wishing to address the committee may do so at this time. Audience members shall limit comments to 3 minutes and are reminded that public comment is not a discussion, debate, or dialogue between individuals and the school committee. Personnel issues or issues that would violate student or employee confidentiality cannot be addressed during the public comment. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the superintendent's update. Mr. Boswell.
Okay, the first update is going to be on the elementary school building project. So I've got a few slides. I actually have a fairly short video I want to share with you. But as I go through the information, please feel free to ask questions as I go through the information. So I just want to start by kind of publicly stating, we put this out there a lot, but what our project goal was and continues to be. It's really to provide information out to all of our stakeholders, staff, families, and the entire West Bridgewater community, so they're informed about what's going on with the building project. Because this is a project that will benefit the student, staff, and the community, hopefully for the next 50 plus years. Throughout the process, we've had concerns or some hurdles, and that is making sure information is getting out to everyone in the community. We do our best to provide information through school email, Facebook posts, town Facebook page, town calendar, SMS texting, newsletters, but we're always searching for new ways. That's why we've tried to meet with people as small groups and have our community forums as well. But we're always encouraging people that reach out with questions or concerns.
I did just want to add, we did have some community correspondence over the last month with some concerns over this information reaching the public, including non-parents. And, I know it's frustrating because obviously you reach out through the school channels as much as you can and other channels, but the school channels are your primary source given that you're the superintendent of the schools. One thing that I was thinking about, a couple of years ago I signed up for something at town meeting to get notifications, but I've never gotten a notification, so I don't know if that
We did reach out to town
happening.
hall. I can check back with Kim LaCroix. She said, I believe, and I can confirm this, that they want to save those for emergency communications, but there is something on the website, and we did see that and inquired on it. I'll be honest, we didn't inquire again after she got the initial feedback, so I'm going to look into that because that can also be helpful.
Yep.
And I do have my weekly Thursday morning meetings, 8 a.m. It's a Google Meet. The Google Meet stays the same, or people can stop by in person. I know it's somewhat during work hours for some people, but it's an opportunity for people to come in once a week if something pops up.
Okay. Thank you.
When we look at the elementary school building project, there's really two areas of concern. And when we completed the statement of interest for the Spring Street and the Roselle McDonald School in April of 2022 and the Howard School in March of 2023, we had to list off reasons for needing this project. And they're really contained within these two numbers. Our outdated buildings being built in 1958, so it's 68 years old, and 1968, 58-year-old don't continue to meet the needs of our students and staff. We have concerns over the systems, the structures, and lacking the educational opportunities for our kids that they deserve. And it's interesting for our middle senior high school project, that school was built in 1952 and it was approved in 2012. So 60 years of life when it got approved. So very similar timeline. And the overcrowding of schools. So we are lacking specialist spaces, we're lacking appropriate special education spaces, collaboration spaces, and regular education classroom spaces. So we are at our limit in most cases. We may have a little room here and there, but it is definitely our belief that before we move into a new building, we will be out of all spaces within the buildings. And just point of clarification in terms of timing, this is not going to happen with a vote at the end of this month. It's still 3.5 years before phase 1 would be completed. So that would be in the fall of 2029, and that would be for kindergarten through grade 3. And the following year, so the fall of 2030 for grades 4 to 6. So we're still looking a ways out. All right, we have a video that has been shared and posted, but we have 4 different videos that are each about 1.5 to 2 minutes long, but this is kind of the super cut that combines them all. And if people haven't seen it, I think it's a good opportunity for people to see the information provided in this video.
You may have heard that West Bridgewater Public Schools was accepted into the Massachusetts School Building Authority's core program to replace the Rose L. McDonald School while consolidating Howard Elementary School and kindergartners from Spring Street School. The MSBA process is like a marathon. It takes persistence, endurance, and a dedicated program that takes years to achieve. This short video summarizes the progress we've made in this marathon, which started in December 2023 when West Bridgewater was accepted into the MSBA program. We'll show the opportunity we have to secure tens of millions of dollars in MSBA funding for the project. Take a virtual tour of the design plans of the new school. Break down the project scope and budget of the project, and explain community authorization, where West Bridgewater voters have their say in the process. West Bridgewater has a rare opportunity to fund a new elementary school with the MSBA. The MSBA is a state authority that helps local school districts pay for the design and construction of schools. Everyone in the Commonwealth helps fund this process with 1 penny of our 6.25% sales tax. It's funded more than $17 billion in statewide school construction since 2004. The program is highly competitive. Only about 15% of school districts that apply are accepted into the program each year. The process is like a marathon involving years of dedication to determine the most fiscally responsible solution for the future of a public school. For each school, the owner's project manager keeps the project on time and on budget, while a design team of architects and engineers evaluates all potential solutions, weighing the pros and cons of each. The payoff for this work is significant. By completing the MSBA marathon, West Bridgewater can have about 55% of its eligible costs reimbursed by the MSBA. It can also get up to 2 incentive points associated with the district's maintenance program, and another 4 incentive points associated with green school initiatives. That's tens of millions of dollars to aid the project that won't come out of our local tax assessments. West Bridgewater's plan to consolidate grades K through 6 into one school at Roselle McDonald School required its project team to use the best practices in educational goal setting, design, and sustainability to create one school that maintained its smaller school age level identities. The new school does this in several key ways. The multi-story building divides up grade levels into 4 clusters. The upper elementary grades on one side of the building, with 4th grade on the 1st floor, 5th grade on the 2nd floor, and 6th grade on the 3rd floor. And the early elementary grades on the other side of the building, with kindergarten and 1st grade on the 1st floor, and 2nd and 3rd grade on the 2nd floor. In each grade level cluster, there are classrooms, small group breakout rooms, and extended learning commons where different classes can gather, and integrated special education spaces, all to keep learning centered in each grade level cluster. The middle of the building links the clusters together with the shared spaces for all students to use, separate eating spaces for upper and lower elementary students, the gymnasium, media center, and multi-purpose room for specials. By centrally locating these spaces, this also maximizes community access on nights, weekends, and when school is out of session, including use of the gym by West Bridgewater Youth Athletics Association and other community groups. Outside of the building, the design includes a play area, inclusive playground for all age groups, and an outdoor classroom. The project team also maximized sustainability components in the school's design to qualify for incentive points to reduce the local tax impact of the project, to maximize the human health benefits of all students and staff, and to save on operating costs long-term by creating the most energy-efficient building possible. Here's the project scope and budget for the new K through 6 elementary school under the MSBA process. The total project budget is approximately $169.6 million. This includes careful contingency planning for rising costs as well as the demolition of the existing building. If West Bridgewater authorizes the project, the MSBA would contribute about $72.1 million, including incentive points for sustainability and maintenance, or about 43% of the total project cost, leaving about $97.5 million for West Bridgewater to finance on its local tax rolls. Here's how we propose to pay for our portion, which requires community authorization in a town election. A debt exclusion, which means the tax increase is temporary and expires once the bond is paid off. A 30-year bond using a conservative interest rate of 4% that amounts to about $310 of additional property taxes per $100,000 of assessed value in the first year of repayment. By paying level principal on the bond each year, this reduces the amount of interest West Bridgewater pays over time, meaning the annual cost to taxpayers will go down each year of repayment. We've also provided a tax calculator on the project website where you can enter your home's assessed value to calculate your estimated tax impact. The MSBA process only moves forward with community authorization from West Bridgewater voters. This includes authorizing the project at a special town meeting where a 2/3 majority is required to authorize the project, and a special town election where a simple majority is required to authorize the financing. Community authorization moves the school project to the next phase, design, development, and construction documentation, then bidding and construction, with the goal of cutting the ribbon and occupying the new school in the fall of 2029. The MSBA process ends without community authorization. West Bridgewater may only schedule another vote with the MSBA's approval. Otherwise, the MSBA's involvement would cease, and any MSBA involvement on a future project or repair effort would require the filing of a new statement of interest by West Bridgewater. We would go back to the beginning of the process if and when the MSBA accepts us back into the program, which is historically a 5 to 10 year process. Without the MSBA, West Bridgewater will have to address the repair and renovation of all 3 of its elementary schools through its regular capital improvement process, where taxpayers pay the full cost. We estimate base repair and code improvements to Roselle McDonald and Howard Elementary Schools at a combined $96 million over the next 10 years. In West Bridgewater Public Schools, our mission is to work together with home and community to provide our students a safe environment in which to acquire the knowledge, skills, and values needed for success. We believe the MSBA opportunity for a new elementary school serves this mission. For more information about the school building project, visit the district's project website, wbesbuildingproject.com, where you can get all the records of the project to date and learn about upcoming opportunities to engage this process.
Any specific questions or related to the video? I'm going to cover a lot more stuff, but
Yeah, I have two questions.
Sure.
So the MSBA accepts 15% each year. How many rounds did statements of interest have to be submitted, or how many times for this building?
we submitted on the first time we got accepted. For the middle senior high school, it was I believe it was the third time they submitted. We were one of, I believe, 10 districts in the state at that time. I think around 60 districts had submitted for a core program project, and we were selected. I was a bit surprised and happy, but yeah, it was the first time.
And then the other question that I had is early in the video, it said 55% is reimbursable by the MSBA. But when all is said and done, it's 43% by the MSBA. Can you explain that?
Sure.
And like which portions?
It's a good question because it comes up a lot. And throughout the process at our school building committee meetings, we were talking about reimbursable costs and caps on those. For example, one of the biggest ones is this MSBA will only reimburse a certain amount of construction costs. You'll see our construction costs are about $876 per square foot, which is way up from the middle senior high school, which was around $325. I believe they cap somewhere around the $550 per square foot. They cap site work at a much lower amount. So all of the entire building, all the spaces are eligible for MSBA reimbursement. So there's no spaces are not eligible. The problem is we don't get that actual, you can't just divide out the two numbers because there's caps that the MSBA installs. And that's really to allow more projects out there, because if they didn't have caps, then they would be spending a lot more money on each project, but that would lessen the amount of projects that they could offer to the state.
So just one quick follow-up. So you said this building was 300 and something dollars per square foot 10 years ago, obviously.
Correct.
The cap is 550 and we're at 876 per square foot.
Yes.
Now I know there's a big, there's a controversy which concerns me too. Why is our 876 per square foot so much higher than that cap?
Yeah, and I don't have slides in there, but they are in other presentations. And the 550 is not, I'm not exactly sure if that's correct. That's approximately that.
Yeah.
It's just construction costs in general. You'll find that within the documents there is, if you look, there's a chart that shows where the middle senior high school was in terms of a trend line, where the middle senior high school is right on the trend line in terms of cost for the project. The Roselle McDonald project is significantly below that cost.
So averages.
Where we're below, and within that information, you'll also find stuff, comparing us to other districts. East Bridgewater, ours is $876 per square foot. Their elementary school is proposed at $996.
So it sounds like the MSBA is just not caught up.
They have not caught up.
Okay.
And I think
All right,
part of that's
construction costs. All right,
intentional.
that
I
makes
think
sense.
to fund more projects.
That makes sense.
And every time that the projects go up, they're trying to move that trend line, but they have not caught up.
Okay.
But there's much more detailed information in past presentations. A reminder to the community that we have a school building tours on Thursday night, January 15th, from 5 to 7 p.m. This will give people the opportunity to tour all three schools between the hours of 5 and 7. So the way we're doing it is we are stationing both school personnel and team personnel. Our school building chair, our OPM, and our architect will be those people at different buildings, And the first one will start at 5 o'clock. The tour will be 30 minutes, and people can go to any of the 3 schools, Spring, Roselle, or Howard. We're hoping they stay to those 30 minutes, gives them 10-minute travel time to go to another school if they choose. So I know the principals have done a nice job getting things ready and have a good route plan, but I think it's important to see what the buildings look like, even if people had children there years ago. 5, 10 years ago, the buildings looked different in terms of how the spaces are being utilized, and I think it'll be good for people to be informed of what they look like now. Just some diagrams. Again, I'm not going to go into detail on some of the diagrams, but this will show the front entrance, front of the school on the left-hand side is the lower school K-3, which is 2 stories, and on the right-hand side, the upper school, which is grades 4, 5, and 6. The upper school will be part of phase 2. They're going to build the lower school in the central space first, then they will tear down the existing Roselle McDonald School and build the upper school in phase 2. Some picture of what the site looks like, and if you can see the red dotted line, that is the existing Roselle McDonald School, so you can see how it extends into the upper school. And the parking area, where number 5 is, the central part of the main parking lot for 135 cars. There's also a water retention system underneath the parking lot, and there's one in the back as well. Currently at the Roselle McDonald, there's no water retention, so any water that goes onto the site will just go off the site however it gets off the site. Now we will be controlling the water, which should be a massive benefit for the neighbors. Stepping Stone Lane is also straightened out a little bit, so it doesn't have that S-curve. And you'll see a loop road around the back of the school, so there is a bus loop in the front of the building, and cars will drop off in the back. And I'll talk a little bit more about traffic in a minute and how we're going to be improving a site that will have obviously more cars than it had in the past.
I'm sorry, can I just ask a question?
Sure.
While this construction's going on, is there a plan to keep the current students safe during all that construction and all that stuff being down?
Yes. They will. In the project, we're going to hire a construction manager. So that is different than the middle senior high school project where we had a general contractor. So we'll be hiring a construction manager to begin with, and then they will help control the site and the phasing and the laydown areas. And certainly safety will be the #1 priority, working with the administration to ensure everyone is safe on the property. This goes through again what was in the video, just shows the first floor, which is our kindergarten and first grade, and our 4th grade, highlighting the upper and lower cafeteria with the kitchen area in the middle. This allows us to serve lunches not at the exact same time, but overlapping time, so we're not serving 7 different lunch periods. We're splitting them up throughout the day. And the green, number 11, is where the offices are, along with the medical at number 17. Second floor on the lower schools, grades 2 and 3, and 5th grade on the second floor. To the north, here you'll have the gym on the second floor, which is over the maintenance area, so it doesn't affect any of our students. And the multi-purpose room right in the middle, along with the library right in the middle. It is important that this is a community space that is used throughout not only the school day, but the entire year, that people can have access to this building, same at the middle senior high school. And on the 3rd level, we have our 6th grade in the upper school. Just some information about town population. When we look back at past census information, we look at our 2020 census, we're over 7,700 in town, and that continues to go up. But when the Howard School was built in 1958, there was about 4,800 residents, and in 1968, about 5,800 when the Roselle McDonald was built. So you can see the population increase since that time in the town, and the corresponding number of students as well.
Can I just ask a question? Refresh my memory, when did the district start accepting school choice?
I believe it was 2004.
So prior to 2004, I'm just looking at 1958, the Howard School was built. Population was 4860. I don't know what the population, elementary age was, but it sounds like there was some open space in the
Yes.
buildings in
Yes.
1958.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Room to grow.
So we've had a long, over 20 years of kind of managing school choice and looking at where the numbers have been. So good trends within that amount of time. Just some information that has just come out today and will be coming out tomorrow, I believe. So we did recently post out a two-sided trifold document that talks about concerns at the Roselle McDonald and the Howard School, as well as some benefits to the pre-K program, which will remain at Spring Street. So that is on the website and was emailed out, and the link was put onto Facebook today. And we are listening to feedback from the community, wanting more information about renovations and what is this $96 million going to cost. We talked about today at our building meeting. So our architect and our OPM are putting information together that will show the scope of what will need to be done. We'll also talk a little bit more about limits, or once we hit certain thresholds. Once you hit 30% of a building's value, you'll need to do a full and complete renovation. So more information will be shared out, like I said, tomorrow on renovations. All right, so school choice. So here's just some information about school choice. As said, we've had it for over 20 years. As a school district, over the past 5 years, we have decreased by about 20% of our school choice, and that's directly related to the increase in West Bridgewater population. At the elementary level specifically, we've gone from a high of 109 to 68 school choice students this year, which is a 37.6% decrease. We've seen a similar decrease at the middle senior high school level, but it's only 8.5%. We have made an intentional decision not to accept, and I have some numbers in a few slides that talks about school choice over the past 4 years. Knowing that we have this building project, hopefully moving forward, and being concerned about not a particular 1 year, but looking 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the road, we wanted to make sure we were accepting fewer and fewer at the elementary level because of lack of space. And it's been stated before in budget meetings, there is a direct correlation to school choice and funding. Over the past 5 years, we've had a funding deficit of over $305,000. So that's important to know. Went from 1.5 to about $1.2 million. And we're anticipating it going down even more. It's important to know because that $1.2 million we had in the budget last year is part of the school contributions rather than asking the taxpayers to fund that. Here's just a historical look at school choice from the 2017-18 school year, and shaded in the lighter colors are what we're tentatively estimating as we go through into budget. And this shows the past 10 years, but this is specific to the elementary K to 6. So you can see that we were up at the 109, as I mentioned. We were in the high 80s, low 70s, and now the high 60s. And I will break it down a little bit more in a couple slides. Oh, this slide actually. So this looks at our new school choice. And I say that year to year because we have 68 students, but we have 40. We had this year. Every year you can see the averages in the low 40s. That's to replace students who graduate and replace students who may go to vocational school, agricultural school. So that's kind of the number we've been trying to replace that. But you can see that we've had low numbers at the elementary level for over the past 4 years, and certainly higher numbers at the secondary level. So again, an intentional decision to make sure we're lessening the amount of students through school choice going into the elementary. And the
do you know off the top of your head how many kids were the ones that left for the Aggie schools or Southeastern?
From West Bridgewater?
Yeah.
Mrs. Page, I would say it ranges around 20.
Okay. So then like roughly half the new ones from last year would have been kids replacing those?
Correct.
Okay.
And then the other half would be usually our graduates.
Okay.
And then a few here and there that just may move out of town, things like that. And then we also looked over the past 3.5 years, because we're only halfway through the year, of the number of new registrations in West Bridgewater. And we wanted to see, is it elementary heavy, is it secondary heavy? But it really turns out that it's heavier on the elementary level, but it's almost a wash. 128 new registrations at the elementary level and 116 at the secondary level. So I think it averages out about 70 new students coming in every year, and that's kind of a normal thing. Traffic, I wanted to address traffic because it has been a concern from the community. We are aware that with more students and staff, there will be increased traffic at the site. But we are planning to mitigate it both through the design and our programming of what we'll be doing. So we do have a two-door system similar to the middle senior high school. We had this building here, the middle senior high school was designed as a two-door system. We went to a one-door and now back, and I'm hoping it's been a little bit better, but I think that's the way it was designed, and this building, like I said, will be designed that way. They are widening Stepping Stone Lane from 23 feet to 33 feet. It is difficult to get down there when cars are traveling. It's for emergency vehicles or even buses to get by, so there will be a queuing lane for 90 cars off to the right, but teachers or people coming in to drop something off will be able to go by that queuing lane. Buses will go by, emergency vehicles, and there'll still be a lane going out. The loop road around the building will enhance traffic flow and safety. We're also widening the entrance at North Elm Street. That will allow for multiple turn lanes, one to the right and one to the left, where right now it's just one in and one out. I mentioned the queuing, and really something we're starting to talk about. Again, this is something that's going to happen over the next 3.5 years, 4 years. But right now, our opening times for the schools average 10 to 15 minutes. It's a little bit different here at the middle senior high school, but we're trying to get all of those vehicles into the school within a 10-minute or a 15-minute time frame, and that's going to create more traffic. So what we were considering is opening the doors 30 to 40 minutes early. Doesn't mean people will still probably come the last 10 minutes, but it will hopefully diffuse some of the traffic over that time. We will have staff there available so they can drop off. We have not made a firm decision on if it's going to be a staggered start or one start. I do think there's many benefits to one start. There's also going to be more traffic. But then people won't be coming back around a second time if they've got a second grader and a fifth grader. So there's things we can do to mitigate some of these concerns for sure.
So just to clarify, the before-school program, that would be entirely separate from surround care? This would be, you can just drop off the child early?
Yep, there would still be some programs to drop off even earlier for surround care, but this is something I think we will need to do to help with the traffic and help families out. Yes. So enrollment has been a hot topic, and we've explained it several different ways. I'm going to try a little bit different way tonight just to try to provide some context of how this number came to be. So MSBA is the one who sets the enrollment. We provide them information and they set the enrollment, and that's for every school building project. So they've used our DESI data for the past 10 years of enrollments through 22-23. So it's important to note that things that happened after November of 23 are not going to be reflected in their enrollment projections. Town information for them was gathered in collaboration with the town administrator, the town planner, the town clerk to look at birth rates, and data was submitted in August, several times in August and October of 2023. We held several meetings with the MSBA in August, a couple in August, one in October, to review their projections. Again, town administrator, the chair of the school committee at the time, business manager, school building committee chair, and myself sat in these virtual meetings with the MSBA to go over all the information that we had. They came up with projections for 4 different grade configurations, grades 1 to 3, which we knew would never fly and they knew it wouldn't fly because doesn't solve any of our problems, but a K to 4, a 1 to 6, and a K to 6. So they provide numbers for each of those and sent them to us. And then the MSBA works with the town to come up with the enrollment certification based on their methodology. So they have factors, birth rates, survival rates, things that they use, and it's completely data-driven. So that's kind of the methodology behind, or how they got to gathering our enrollment certification. And that enrollment certification came out, I think it was November 9th of 2023. So here's how you break down the numbers. And again, this is specific to the K to 6 grade configuration, but we do have them for all 4 configurations. So they looked at our base enrollment projection through the 2032-33 school year, and they assigned a number of 805 students over that 10-year period. Then they looked at out-of-district enrollment, and that's not special education. That might be students attending private schools, potentially homeschooled, that may be coming back. So they assigned an additional 25 students, K to 6, so not a relatively small number for that. And then they looked at development, and they looked at a few different things. They looked at zoning changes, what they label as transit-oriented, so the MBTA development, and development information provided by the town, not just a school, but provided by the town. And they predicted an increase of 245 students to get to that 1075. So if you add the 805, the 25, and the 245, that's where you get to the 1075. And I think it's just important to note some of the zoning changes. The ADU, the accessory dwelling units, Massachusetts passed a law in last February, which requires ADUs to be permitted by right. So that the more availability for that, I think they knew that was probably coming. So you may see more ADUs within all communities. At the special town meeting, they approved a multifamily housing district, which had a range of 148 to 172 units. I do think they settled in the warrant at 150, but that's the information that was presented. And information about future projects in town. So when we look at our development in town, a lot of it was projected for their report in 2023. We've seen some of the development completed. We've seen others that are still going. But again, this is looking 30, 40, 50 years ahead. So that's how they came up with the number. So, and then this just shows some information. When you look from 2001 to 2023, we had a growth rate of 1.24%. That's for all students. But it's important to note that we didn't see the development as much. And I'm sure there were developments added over time, but the number of developments that the MSBA identified as 245. And again, when we look down the road at 1075, that's a big number. Even if it was, I think we looked at 900, we're going to fill up a majority of our classrooms. I'll talk about them in a second, but we have 5 right now in most cases. We'll have 5 by the time we move in per grade. Getting to 6 will not be that difficult. And right now we can't go above 5. In the new building, we'll have a couple bubble classes to go above 6, but we're kind of locked in at 6. And I also wanted to look at some other growth information. So what I did was I looked at our foundation enrollment numbers. Foundation enrollment is how they calculate our Chapter 70 funding. So it's an important number for every community in Massachusetts. And I looked at the last 3 years and I looked at our increase. Now, foundation enrollment includes a lot of things. It's not just our enrollment, it's enrollment of West Bridgewater students. So I didn't break that down, but I looked at our average growth over the 3 years was at 1.28%.
Just to clarify,
Yeah.
West Bridgewater students, we always say school choice, we own them. That's West Bridgewater residents.
Thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you for clarifying.
All right.
This is West Bridgewater residents only. So this number is minus out our 229 students, for example, for this year. So our growth of West Bridgewater's residents over the past 3 years was 1.28%. And you'll notice that the state average grew, but at a much smaller percentage. And again, I don't like to compare the towns, but I think for this purpose, it's good just to see what some other communities are. And you'll see, again, using this readily available data on the DESI website, that you've seen East Bridgewater has gone down over the past 3 years. Easton has had a modest increase, and Bridgewater Rainham is a little bit above us in terms of growth. And it's been brought up before. We had a great meeting at the COA. They had a bunch of really good questions for us, but it was noted that we have a higher percentage than most of seniors. And so I wanted to do some research. So I looked at some surrounding communities. I looked at our 65 plus number or percentage of our seniors plus our 60 plus. So you'll see that West Bridgewater's percentages are not higher than all, but higher than most. So I think eventually those houses may turn over, or we may have building of ADUs where people are moving to a smaller living unit and selling a house to someone else. So I think it's just important to note that our senior population is a bit higher than most. And I'm going to try to get through these quickly, but questions we've answered at community forums in the past, but why not the Howard site? The Howard site would require a wastewater treatment plant, which we do not have the space available at the Howard site. It would have to be pumped off-site to an undetermined site that is not within the scope of the school building committee. How has the cost been decreased for the project? The original cost was $197 million. Things such as district offices were taken out, lessening the number of classrooms. In some cases, a couple below what the MSBA wanted in terms of bubble classes. We felt we did not need all of them, reducing some small group spaces, reducing some of the site work. As we move into the buildings in 2029 and 2030, what percent of the classrooms will be used? We're predicting that 5 out of 6, so each classroom area has 6 classrooms with 2 bubbles classrooms within the school, but keeping those aside, we'll be predicting using 5 out of 6, which I believe is about 83% of the classrooms. And again, it's good to have some available space because we're going to be talking being in this building for the next 30 to 50 years. So filling up those classrooms will be inevitable. I talked about the classrooms per grade. Keeping pre-K at Spring Street School, I think, although I will admit it's our oldest building of the school buildings, there are a lot of benefits to moving preschool down to the kindergarten wing. They'll have their own bathrooms, they'll have contiguous space to work with, they'll have collaborative spaces, they'll be closer to the recess area. Right now, they have got to leave the classrooms to use the bathroom. They have an entrance that's isolated from the main office entrance. They are separated by superintendent's office, business office, related services. So there are a lot of benefits to move down. Plus, there's more. We have 3 preschool classrooms now. There's availability for 5 in the kindergarten area. What will the town do with the Howard School? I see it as an asset. I said before, I don't want to speak for the school committee, nor do I want to speak for the town, but I think there's opportunity there. There's an opportunity just to tear it down as well, but there's opportunity for a school, town, community to use the space, and I think it could be a financial asset to the town if handled correctly, and I think there'd have to be a lot of discussion on that. I don't see it as a deficit or a downside to keeping that. It also gives us flexibility in the future. The tax calculator, as mentioned in the video, the way that the town is structuring tax payments, the same as they did for the middle senior high school, taking the amount in isolation, because taxes will most likely continue to go up, but looking at that amount, it will continue to decrease through the life of that 30-year loan. The middle senior high school project, again, if you go to some of our documents online, you'll see some really in-depth cost comparisons, but this building cost about $63 million to build. when you look at the square footage cost to build it and calculate it now, it's about 159 million to build the same building. That was designed for 620 students at 159 million. The elementary school is designed for 1,075 students. So it's a big difference. How are we building it? Are we building an expensive school compared to other projects? I do not think so. We have comparisons to other square footage costs, so I think you look at our costs, and we are not building the Taj Mahal. We are not. We are cutting to where we need to be, and the ultimate number that is passed, we cannot go above that. So we will look to value engineer like we did here at the middle senior high school to continue to keep costs down. And if we come in under budget, the money just goes back to the town. What happens if the project does not pass? Then it would, we'd go back into the queue. It would take, I think, a few years for the MSBA to consider accepting the school district back. We have a lot of area schools that currently are getting elementary. Easton, East Bridgewater, Bridgewater Rainer is not that far up, along in terms of the age of their building, Rockland. But there's other communities that are still now needing these elementary schools. So I think we'll be a few years to get in, and then, we'll look at how much it's gonna cost then. Costs are continuing to go up, and we have a cost comparison with a school up in Ipswich that they waited, I think it was 11 years, and their share went from, I think, about 60 million to about $100 million, just over that time frame. And again, we can try as soon as possible, but I'm thinking they wouldn't let you right back in.
I do have a question.
Yes.
What's the average lifespan of these new schools? Like 50 years?
They're designed for 50 years.
Designed for 50?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's, I hope that, they'll be, although I think our schools were well-built.
Yeah.
But we're now in 58 and 68 years, so I think we get at least that out of it. And I credit our maintenance and custodial staff for doing a really good job in our schools. And then it comes down to special town meeting, which will be Saturday. Again, the norm has always been Monday night at 6 p.m., so this is different. So it's a Saturday morning at 10 a.m. here at the middle senior high school. The main presentations will be done in the auditorium, where the overflow will be into the gym, and there'll be TVs in the gym. So, and they're gonna have people check in at a door over by Spring Street, so they can walk down the hall. Presumably gonna be cold, hopefully not snowy, so people can check in and get to the meeting. And we will have childcare available, as we have in the past. And just some contact information, my contact information, PMA's information, district website, building website, district Facebook page, and a reminder about the weekly meetings. Again, our goal is to have the public as informed as possible, and then they make the decision that they feel is best for them. That's always been the plan.
Thank you. It was a lot of information.
Yeah, sorry.
Appreciate it. No, I appreciate it. Does anyone have any other questions before he moves on? Okay.
All right. Next, just a much quicker update on the FY27 budget process. So right now, I'm working with our business manager to review all FY27 step and track raises. Kathy does a really good job of making sure that it's accurate. So we're not estimating anything. We're looking at individual staff members, and we are looking at their track going to the right and their step. So we know when we're budgeting that, although it's not the same people, because what we budgeted last year, people may have left or found other jobs, so it's not always the same people. So that's always a little bit tricky, but we're looking at our current staff and get accurate numbers. We're also reviewing our out-of-district placements with our Director of Student Services, so we're looking at our numbers, what the placement is, has the placement changed, has transportation changed, what's ESY look like, so that's very important, that's a big piece of our budget. We're reviewing staffing in the school, and the district administrators are currently doing that. We'll be creating budget line presentations that we'll be sharing out with our budget subcommittee as well as the entire committee, having individual meetings. We'll have our budget hearings with the school committee in February. We'll have a review and approval vote in February. And then in March, we'll be meeting with the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee with an eventual town meeting in May. So that's where we stand. And finally, superintendent goals. So I have provided you information on the self-assessment, the same form I've used in the past. I provided a number of things with evidence of progress as well as for reflection on the progress. And we have the 4 goals which were approved by the school committee. I'm just going to name off a few things, but I'm not going to go through every one of them. The first goal has taken probably more time than the other 3, but it's the school building project, very important for our student, staff, and community. But again, the meetings with the public have been important. Meetings with the school committee, getting information out, all documents to the MSBA, so review and input on all documents. Working with district personnel, working with town organizations, zoning board, Board of Selectmen, Finance Committee, COA, regular meetings with our building team, being at things such as open house, curriculum nights, meeting with community groups, PTO, CPAC, arts boosters, athletic boosters, YA and COA, presenting this information and posting the information, and coming up our building tours. Again, the hope is we have a lot of people. I don't know if I want to say it because then people may not come, but I think we're also going to look to videotape it as well. So I do think seeing it in person is very important. Even when I walked through the Howard School today with Mrs. Jufrey, there's certain things that you look at with a different lens. So I think coming to the school is very important. In terms of the second goal, which is student learning, instructional leadership, conducting walkthroughs with our administrators. Definitely some areas I can improve on that, but I'm continuing to do that. The formal ones, we do informal ones, walking around the buildings, which are very, very important. Doing the survey to the family, staff, and students, grades 4 to 12, and creating the executive summary, which I think provides some good information both to the public as well as our administrative team. The formal and informal walkthroughs, the meetings I'm having with our building and district admin, as well as our director of food services, director of maintenance, and so forth. And then professional development, working on our current professional development plan, as well as planning for next year. And then I did note visibility in schools when in the district, so I tried to provide some information on that as well. Third goal had to do with student voice, and these are my enjoyable roundtable meetings with the students. I was just in the gym tonight, and I had a girl ask me when we're having our next middle school one, so I do think they like the munchkins as much as the meetings, but that's okay. I enjoy the conversation. They provide me great feedback and insight, and I really like to hear what's going on. I do share information with our building administrators. I've met pretty much monthly, October, November, and December, and meetings scheduled in January, sharing out information, kind of documenting what I'm learning from them. I've had a fall staff meeting at each of the schools, and we have the winter one scheduled for February. Talk more about the building project, but also more about the budget. My pretty much weekly kindergarten lunches are great. I hear their voice. And again, sharing out information I'm learning with the rest of the administrative team. And finally, the final goal is this district improvement goal about AI. I think this goal, although we've had some progress, I think there's a lot to it. And I think it's going to be really a multi-year process because everyone is still learning. But attending the MassQ conference at Gillette Stadium and the breakout sessions, we attended a virtual webinar where we helped craft our AI school policy. We've drafted that out. It's been shared with our administrative team. It's shared with our technology team. It's shared with our educators looking for feedback. And next month will be shared with the school committee for your feedback as well. And continue reviewing DESE's AI resources. And in December, we had 2 professional development sessions, one for elementary, one for secondary on AI, and I think it was well received. I was able to go to both parts of both of them, and I thank the presenters from Dartmouth who did an outstanding job. So there's a lot of work to do on it, but we're moving forward, I think, in a very responsible manner. So.
Okay, does anyone have any questions or comments or feedback for Mr. Bodwell? No? Okay, so at our next meeting, which is February 2nd, we'll provide some feedback on your progress and reflection. So just looking at the date, so we have our next meeting in, it looks like 3 weeks. Would it be reasonable to say by the end of next week, the 23rd, if any of you have feedback, to submit it to me, just like we do with the end of year evaluation, submit that to me and I will create a summary and then put it back out to you so that you can give it the thumbs up, and then we will present it at the February 2nd meeting, as this is our opportunity to kind of provide feedback and redirect if necessary, or just give some specific details on your goals.
That's good.
So the 23rd, if everyone could have their feedback to me on his progress and reflection, that'd be great.
Perfect.
All right.
Hello. So Mr. Bodwell had asked that I do a check-in with the 2 staff members who are teaching the in-house online course, and I did speak with there's 5 students who are taking it. So going well. Teachers and students are enjoying it. They did have some difficulty with Canva. They're using the Canva platform, and it was, I don't know if it was a Chromebook issue or they were having some difficulty in the beginning, but Mr. Collins helped and they did get it fixed. They're using the Delta Math. It is a math course. It's honors, trig, and stat. So it's like a half year of trig, half year of statistics. They are sticking to their office hours unless it's a technical issue. If it's a technical issue that the kids are reaching out there, working with them right away so that they're not going without, the course. The kids, 2 of them have taken the Ingenuity, which is our online platform that we subscribe to, and so they've taken both. They've enjoyed both. With Ingenuity, there are a variety of different classes that they can take, but they do feel like they are enjoying the in-house one because they feel like they know the teachers, which totally helps. One of the teachers is making videos himself and doing, so they can go back and look at those. One of the big things with one of the students was the response via email. With Ingenuity, sometimes they were waiting a week to get a response, so it was slowing down the process. They are only the teachers are rolling it out a week at a time with the work, and then following up. So they're definitely getting the online experience, but more of keeping an overview of them. We're hoping to possibly expand maybe to a science to try it again for next year. It has been all positive. We haven't had any negatives. 4 of the students are in. It happens to fall in the same block. One student is taking it herself in a different block, but they love the independence. And it's just, it's been a good experience so far. So.
And I think preparing our kids for their future in terms of,
For sure.
I mean, my youngest is in college and you can always have an online course, and it's, you're paying a lot, and I think they need that experience. And what better place to get it, in the secondary here rather than waiting till they get to college to try
Right.
it out.
And as we continue to kind of model it and pilot it, I think we should, again, for next year, is to see maybe it could become a place where, the 6th class that teachers are teaching is an online version, where we can keep the cost in-house, but they're still getting the experience. So that's kind of the goal, if we can, because teachers do need to be trained. We do have 4 teachers in-house that were trained. When we did it years ago, we tried to pilot it through the North River Collaborative. I think it was the North River Collaborative. They trained the staff on how to run an online course. So we're kind of able to tap into those teachers who are still here right now.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Page. Next up, we have, under new business, inter-district school choice program for 26-27. So technically, we only have to vote on this if we are terminating school choice, but I'd like to get a motion on the table either way so that we can have discussion under a motion and then vote. So I'd like to entertain a motion.
Motion to vote on the school choice program for 26-27 school year.
So did you want to make that motion to continue to accept or to terminate the
To
program?
continue to accept, sorry.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion on school choice. You know, I'm not on the budget subcommittee this year. I've been on the budget subcommittee every year up until this year. Our budget depends on it, I know that. Of course, we own the students that we currently have. But if we terminate this program, our seniors that graduate this year and our 8th graders who go off to vocational schools and agricultural schools, we can't fill those seats. And that would be a very big impact to our budget. So for me personally, I'm happy with the way administration has handled it, putting it up to their judgment in terms of filling spaces in elementary. I think it's been reasonable. I think that, they're not overfilling. So I'm in favor of continuing the program. So.
I agree. I think the way that we've been managing it, and really case by case, grade by grade, it would be negatively impact our budget significantly to get rid of it altogether. I think, filling the spots where we have the spots and being more conservative where we don't, I think it's the right move.
Yeah, I agree too. We're doing it correctly, so I don't see any reason to change it.
Yeah, I'm good with it, especially at the high school level. I think you're always going to need it if you're going to lose 20 kids every year. Once they get to high school, you have certain subjects you need to fill. It's not like you can just say, oh, let's get rid of science or something. So, yeah, I mean, at the elementary, I do think, as Mark was kind of highlighting earlier in the data, I think it's going to slowly phase itself out anyways, just with growth in town. So, and it sounds like Mark's already cognizant of the effect that's going to have on the budget and is starting to track that. So I think that works for me. Yep. And then just to be clear, opening it, doesn't mean that we necessarily have to do it if the data comes back and we don't need it, but I think at this point we don't know that, so.
Yep, it's nice that it's a binary vote. It's either yes or no, either we participate or we don't, and then administration really regulates the numbers. I mean, we could choose to accept one school choice student next year and then keep all of the school choice students that we have, and then that's still participation.
And I think it also, with our elementary numbers growing, there's a relief valve in 9th grade, so that's kind of a good thing. So if we ever got to the and I think we will, but maybe a few years now, 120s, 130s, we could not fill as many spots in 9th grade, and that will obviously then help the middle senior high school. Because we do have a higher percentage of students, obviously, at the middle senior high school.
Okay, is there any other discussion, any other questions? Okay, so just to recap, this motion is to continue West Bridgewater's participation in the inter-district school choice program for the 26-27 school year. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, so moved. All right, next we have the middle senior high school scheduling language. Mrs. Page, will you give us an update on this?
I will, thank you. So I believe you have it. There was really very minor changes to the language in the contract. You'll see the current language, and it really went around how many blocks teachers teach in a day. Right now, they're doing 4. If we move to the new schedule, it would be 5. And it also dealt with duties and how many per day. Right now, there's 1 preps, not duties necessarily, and the prep. So right now, they have 1 prep a day, and if it lands during lunchtime, then they would have lunch duty. In this schedule where it would rotate, they'd maybe have 1 or 2 preps, in that we would utilize some of that time for duties for supervision in the hallways and stuff like that. So really just, and going no more than saying administration will make every attempt to assign duties on days when teachers have 2 preps. So we're not necessarily, because we are cutting down the time of the prep, that we would try to stick to, assigning any sort of duties when they had 2 preps per day. So they can focus most of their time on their prepping for the classroom. And then the other was, there was gonna be some proposed changes, but after we read it, there really didn't need to be any on Article 7 about different period structures at the high school. They're still teaching, the students are still taking 8, so the teachers will still be teaching 6 out of the 8. We, kind of the history of it, we were hoping to move forward. Initially, it came for that staff, teachers wanted more time with kids over the course of the year, instructional time for each class. We brought students in to get some of their opinions, and obviously coordinators as well. And students were very passionate about wanting to keep the 8. They were, and honestly, many of the coordinators who teach the arts, technologies, the TV pros, band, chorus, were afraid that if we cut students to only taking 7 courses instead of 8, that there's less electives, so there's less flexibility in trying different things. So we heard them, and so we went back to, the drawing board, and we came up with an 8 drop 3. So we are gaining frequency, but not time. One of the big things for teachers, and I'm sure, students too, because they like the idea of going to 64 minutes versus 80. 80 is a long time. But I don't know, it needs to go to the union for a vote, because we're not gaining the time, over the course of the year in the instruction. I'm not sure which way staff will go with, do we want to go to a whole new schedule if we're not really gaining that much extra time? So, and I see both sides. I do love the rotation. I do love the idea of the 64 minutes. I think that's really a great time, for instruction. After that, students get a little antsy. It's nice to have classes in the morning and in the afternoon, and not always at the same time. And then we also talked about, if we did remain in the same of going to a full rotation, so that there would be some flexibility in not always having a class in the morning or the afternoon. So if you notice over the current schedule right now, and I did it out of a 10-day cycle, because right now, over a course of 2 weeks in the current, they meet 5 out of the 10-day cycle classes, or 80 minutes. The 7-minute break, which I think is important, remains. And another piece which I forgot to bring up, again, dealing with the time, is staff and students both were very passionate about keeping the power block time, especially with our related services. We use that, so the special ed staff, it's a time for kids to be able to get some extra help, a little bit of a break in the day, meetings, those sorts of things, because there are kids that need to leave here and go to work after school, or kids who are involved in drama or sports. So having that the 25 minutes in the day allows them time and flexibility to either go for extra help or be able to meet with teachers. In the proposed 8 drop 3, so there'd be 5 classes a day, so it would be 1 extra class per day for kids. The graduation requirements would not need to change because we're still taking 8 courses. The classes would meet 6 to 7 days out of a 10-day cycle, depending on, how it rotates. and the class times would be 64 minutes, but the break in power block and lunch minutes would stay the same. So really, the language changes are minimal. We want to move forward to a vote with the union, so that, I mean, we start building the schedule. So this is going to be a whole engine change within Aspen, with, making sure that teachers, no teacher can teach all 5 in one day. So we have to make sure that all rotates and stuff, so, and then we go to a vote with the union. If it passes, great. If it doesn't and there's still more, then we go back to the drawing board and we figure it out. So, yeah.
Does anyone have any questions? The only thing that I would like to draw your attention to is I'm just looking, oh, actually, nope, never mind. I answered my own question. I answered my own question. So I trust administration on this. I mean, this is your area.
Sure.
Working in a school, I'm a proponent of this. I already live a waterfall schedule and it works really well. I think 80 minutes is a really long time. I think one of the arguments for this schedule and against the block schedule is that if a student is out, they then go 4 days before they have that class again. And then if the teacher is then out, now you're 6 days before you have the class again. One concern that I do have, and I've brought it up a couple of times, and I know that it has come up in student advisory committee, it's just being cognizant of, the teachers. I know it's a lot of work to restructure their lessons, but just being very cognizant of homework and communicating with one another on tests. I think one of the things that students really like is the ability to work steadily on a topic and on content and then have time to work on that while their teacher is available to help them.
Sure.
And it kind of minimizes their homework. Whereas now they're looking at 5 classes in a day, they meet again the next day, so they don't have 2 days to complete the homework.
For sure.
So I think there's a lot of fear over the increased workload.
No, 100%, and you're right with the kids because they have brought that to our attention. And those are things that we would work with staff to, make sure that we're mindful of. And it would be a learning curve, for everybody. And I forget years ago, we had a 7 drop 2 years and years ago, and I think it was something, back then it was like, all right, this test these days, this department and whatever. So, we'll figure it out. We certainly don't want to stress kids out any more than they need to be. So, sure.
I hear your concerns, and I fully support the schedule. The frequency to me is the biggest piece that's missing right now. The 5 out of 10, and I want 5 out of 8. Just it makes a lot more sense with the shorter time.
And I'm just curious, Christine, on the lunches. Is it currently a reduction in the number of lunch shifts from
So
what?
right now we have 4 lunches. So we'll have, years ago, we used to have 7th and 8th grade would have the same lunch. So we'd go back. We'd go from 4 lunches to 3.
Okay, and no worries about the time constraints of the 22 minutes and the increased lunch size in middle school?
No,
Okay.
they're done literally in 5 seconds.
Okay.
They want to eat and
Just
get out in
making
that
sure.
courtyard.
And-
And you know what? If there are times, sometimes that a student might be running a little late or whatever, we'll adjust and work with them. But I promise you, they get it done.
No, yeah. And then just the other thing in terms of there being a different class in the high school portion for the 2 lunches, they'll be in a different class each day at that time. So how will you know what classes go to lunch when?
So typically, they do now, honestly. Right now, we typically try to have like any art, music, phys ed, technology, science, like a lab science. We try to have them go to first lunch if we can, if the numbers work.
So kind of like where you are in the building
Yeah,
determines.
so right now, like, the kids, depending on what they have, 3rd block, they either have first or second lunch at the high school level. So right now, they're doing it. They'll just know when I have D, I'll have first lunch. If I have G, I have second lunch. And the middle school will always have the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I just wanted to share, I know George isn't here tonight to kind of share the students' perspective. People don't like change. Kids,
Oh, yeah.
Kids especially.
Adults don't like change.
Actually, I take that back. Adults too. But as much as the kids, I know, kind of, from what the 5 students that I meet with, they say the students in general want the current schedule, they don't want the change, but there's been a however this year, whereas last year, it was just, that was it. They don't like it, they don't want it. And I think it's nice that from what was proposed last year, being worked on last year, to what this is, it's kind of been a compromise in terms
Yeah,
of.
they were adamant
Yeah.
about the 7. They were really nervous about, and
Yeah.
I get it. And the teachers were as well, you know, the
Right.
teachers that teach the specials, so.
And they did appreciate including the power block still, and they appreciate seniors still having their privileges, things
big.
like that.
It's big.
Yep. So I think it's good. I think it's a good blend of all the concerns.
Yeah, and you're never gonna make everybody happy.
No.
But they'll adjust, you know? So,
Okay, any other questions? All right. Is there a motion to accept the amended language for the teacher's contract regarding the middle senior high school schedule?
Move to accept the amended language for the middle senior high school schedule.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
No.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Okay, so the next thing on our list is school committee self-evaluation. In reviewing the B policies, which are the governance policies, these policies really talk about how we regulate ourselves. So we evaluate Mr. Bodwell evaluates his administrators evaluate the teachers. Who evaluates us, that we are actually doing what we're supposed to be doing? And MASC recommends that we evaluate ourselves. There is no set form. They do have this model that I've included in our drive. But the recommendation is that as a committee, we discuss what we'd like to evaluate. So if we'll take a minute and just look at these different areas, if we're in agreement, we can move on and vote to accept, and we can use this to evaluate ourselves over the next month or two, or we can amend and make changes. So if we're looking at page 3 for the appendix, the ratings are in several different areas. The first is governance. It's regarding policies, the mission statement, our goals and objectives, and various things related to governance. So does anyone have any questions in this section or any suggestions for change?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the next is operations. It's in regard to committee officers. Do we all know what we're doing and when we're doing it? And it also is related to the training and orientation that we receive in the beginning and then ongoing professional education for school committee members. Are there any questions or suggestions for this section?
No.
Other than noting the numbering's odd.
Oh, yeah, the numbering is odd, so we'll fix that. And the next is member relations. This is just, are we doing what we're supposed to be doing? Are we courteous to one another? Are we respectful?
Yep.
Okay. And the next section is committee superintendent relations. So it's how we communicate with Mr. Bodwell, how he communicates to us, and so on.
Seems good.
Yep.
Okay, next is strategic planning and fiscal management. It's all related to the budget, development of the budget, and how we communicate that to the community.
Seems good.
Okay. Not last, sorry. Community relations is next. It is relative to how the committee communicates to our constituents.
Seems good.
All right, and then the last one is conduct of meetings, just how our meetings are run, how long they are, how frequent they are, the agendas, so on and so forth.
It gives us really at least a good starting off point for this year to do a new.
Okay, great. So the way MASC recommends that we do this is they actually recommend that we do it anonymously and then compile the results and discuss the results together and build goals. So I think the simplest way to do this is for me to just put it in a Google form.
Right.
And we can all fill it out, and then I will compile the results for the next meeting.
Will you include spaces for comments?
Yes.
Thank you.
Minimize those comments, Mrs. Lizardi. Okay. So if that looks good, we can move on to the CPAC update.
Great.
All right, so the West Bridgewater Special Education Parent Advisory Council is dedicated to building inclusive schools and a supportive community for all students. We serve families of students with IEPs and 504 plans, and we welcome general education families as well. Through advocacy, guidance, educational programs, and community events, our goal is to ensure that every student has what they need to succeed. We would like to take this moment to thank our amazing students, faculty, and staff for celebrating the International Day of Disabilities on Friday, December 5th by rocking their socks and donating to our fundraiser. Because of all of you, we raised a total of $1,554 across the district. The CPAC would also like to extend a big thank you to all those involved in making this event a huge success. We encourage more parents and caregivers to join us for our next meeting on Tuesday, January 20th, here at the Middle Senior High School. A little change on location. It will be downstairs in the teacher's room at 6 o'clock. Your involvement makes a significant difference. To learn more about the WB CPAC, stay updated on events, or join our mailing list, please visit us on Facebook or email us anytime at wbsepac@gmail.com. Okay, next we have our student rep update, and you said George did not send us one this month?
No, I was able to meet with him. Things are going well, getting back from break. There weren't a lot of things to update on, because I think it's just coming back from vacation and getting back into the swing of things. Just kind of the continued concerns over some issues with Google searches and research that the students are having that I know we're going to be collaborating with Mr. Collins on. And then reiteration that, they would love, if possible, to see theater incorporated in the curriculum. That was kind of been an ongoing trend most of the year. They would love it to be a class and not just an extracurricular. Beyond that, we did talk about the proposed schedule changes, and even though the general student consensus is no change, it's with fewer reservations than before, and they did appreciate a lot of what we already spoke about. So, yeah, things are going well, and I know that they are reaching out to the staff running the student councils at the elementary schools, and hopefully get some input from the younger students about what's going well, and if there are any changes that those students would like to see as well.
Great, that's great. We do have the program of studies, I believe, on the next.
Correct. We do that February.
Yeah, that I think is something to think about. Also, I know that Mr. Waller had some questions that he brought up a couple of months ago about just kind of restructuring and looking at what electives are offered, use of phys ed time. And I think with the change in the schedule too, if we could get an update at the next meeting just on any ideas, thoughts on,
Sure.
The curriculum for next year.
Right.
that'd be
That's
great.
always our opportunity to talk about, if we're changing graduation requirements, we're altering them, if we're adding new courses. Courses like theater are currently in our program of studies, so it's always dependent on staffing and interest and what's run, so they kind of fluctuate back and forth. But yeah, at the next meeting, we can certainly have more information.
Great. Any other questions? All right, moving on to the reports of subcommittees. So the policy subcommittee, we met just before winter break to review the remainders of the B policies. So I am actually going to make a motion to adopt the following policies as revised, if indicated, as written in your Google Drive. And those policies are IKFE, competency determination, BEDD, rules of order, BEDF, voting method, BEDG, minutes, BEDH, public comment at school committee meetings, BEE, special procedures for conducting hearings, BG, school committee policy development, BGB, policy adoption, BGC, policy revision and review, BGD, school committee review of procedures, BGE, policy dissemination, BGF, suspension of policies, BHC, school committee staff communications, BHE, use of electronic messaging by school committee members. BIA, new school committee member orientation. BIBA, school committee conferences, conventions, and workshops. BID, school committee member compensation and expenses. And BJ, school committee legislative program. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion on these policies. So we reviewed them all. There were really only one policy that changed in the B index. It was BG. It was very minor change. One word change, system to district. There were no content changes. There were a couple of policies that we looked at, the procedures, and they were mostly around policy adoption and procedures. And basically what the policies state is that we need to start using an effective by date for our policies, which makes sense. I think especially for new policies that are adopted, we need to give time for Mr. Bodwell to communicate that change to staff before the policies are in effect. So those are the major changes. There are two also that are recommended to be removed from the index, but we will get to that in the next motion. Are there any questions, or Mrs. Myskowski, do you have anything to add? I think we gotta.
No major changes in this group, so.
Oh, actually, no, I did miss one thing. We do have the policy BJ, School Committee Legislative Program. This policy does state that the committee will annually designate a legislative representative. In the past, we've assumed it's the chair of the committee, but we do actually need to incorporate that language into our organization procedures when we have our reorganization meeting after the election. Okay, any further questions or discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So moved. All right. Move to rescind the following two policies, BEDH-E, Guidelines for Public Comment, and BK, School Committee Memberships. Is there a second? Second. All right. Discussion on these. So BEDH-E is recommended to be removed because we actually have BEDH, and it's just kind of a duplicated policy. It's no longer in the MASC index. They removed it a couple of months ago, and so the recommendation is that we remove it as well. And then BK, school committee memberships, that is incorporated in some of the other policies in this index.
I'm going to ask that. Okay.
So, any further questions?
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So moved. All right, next order of business for the policy subcommittee. Move to open the following policies for review by the policy subcommittee. CA, administration goals. CB, school superintendent. CBD, school superintendent's contract. CBI, evaluation of the superintendent. CCB, staff relations. CE, administrative councils, cabinets and committee. CH, policy implementation. CHA, CHC, development and dissemination of procedures. CHCA, approval of handbooks and directives. CHD, administration in policy absence. And CM, school district annual report. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, discussion on this. It's just the next step that we're going to look at. Any other questions?
No.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, so moved. And then we do have a note under the Wellness Committee. I know that Perry is our representative and she couldn't be with us tonight. Do we have any update on the Wellness Committee, Mr. Bottle?
Yes, we have a meeting scheduled for this week.
Okay.
I think Thursday. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't write down the date, but it is scheduled, on the books, scheduled, and then we will schedule subsequent meetings after that, but it is within the next 2 weeks.
Okay, good. So we can expect an update
Yes.
at the next.
Thursday.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you. So
great.
it's this Thursday.
So we will add an update from the Wellness Committee to the February agenda.
Perfect.
Okay, are there any questions or recommendations by the committee?
No.
No.
No? Okay, the next regular school committee meeting date is February 2nd, 2026 at 6 p.m. here in the Middle Senior High School Learning Commons. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
A second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. So moved. Have a good night, everyone.